How is it that the very first day of the Jewish year, Rosh Hashanah, which is supposed to be a time of anticipation, celebration, a chag, is actually a day of brokenness and crying? How do I know it's a day of brokenness and crying at its root? Because that's the meaning of Yom Teruah. The Torah doesn't call the day Rosh Hashanah, and not Yom Hadin, the day of judgment. It calls it Yom Teruah or Yom Zichron Teruah. And what does the word Yom Teruah mean? I would have thought it means celebration. The word Lahariah, Hariul Hashem, means to celebrate. Teruah is celebration, trumpeteering. But that's not what our sages say. The Targum Onkelos, the oldest and most ancient commentary on the Torah, says on the words when it says in Parashat Timor, Yom Teruah Yelachem, the day will be a day of the blowing of the shofar, a day of the Teruah. Incredibly, he says, Yom Yevava Yehelecho, and it should be a day of moaning, of wailing, of crying. And if you think about it, that is the significant shofar blast that we do, what we call the Teruah. The Teruah, our sages struggled to understand what is the Teruah, and they decided it's either what we call shivering or Teruah. Shivering, Teruah. Most of the sounds are not of the tekiah. They are of shivering, Teruah, or shivering, Teruah. What are they? They are brokenness. Either the sighing of the shiver. The word shiver means brokenness. Shvarim, we are broken. Teruah, we are crying. It's the sighing and the crying. What is going on? How is the first year, the first day of the year, not supposed to be a year of anticipation and celebration, a day of happiness? And yes, of course, it is a chag, there is that, but at its core, it's a day of the wailing, poignant crying of the shofar. What is going on? You see, explains Rav Kook, and as we know, you never ever blow the shvarim or the teruah, the broken, painful sounds, without the tekiah before and after, without the clear, triumphant, complete, strong, straight sound of the tekiah. Yes, we have to know as we begin the Jewish year, and we're going to read about the type of world we want to live in, a world of v'tichle, that there should be v'kol harisha kula kashan tichle. We're going to daven in the davening about this unique world, that there should be no evil in the world, and it all will go up like smoke, and all the evil in the world should go up at smoke, but there isn't. There is so much evil. As of this recording, our son is one of 48 hostages, 20 alive and 28 whose bodies are held in Gaza after over 700 days. And there's so much evil in the world, and so much anti-Semitism in the world, and so much rewarding of terror in the world. This is the world where everything is complete. And therefore, when we come to a world where we pine and aspire for its completeness, at the same time we are broken. Boy, oh boy, are we far away from where we need to be. We know that the world is lived between the ideal and the real, what we call in Hebrew, between haratzui, the world we want to live in, that we daven for, and the world we actually live in. And there is such a big gap between them, and in that gap is the mashber, is the brokenness of life, and we are broken. There is so much broken in life, and there's so much fractured. And what is that fracture? How the world ought to be, how the world is supposed to be, and how the world is, there is such a distance between them. And therefore, there is an inbuilt brokenness into the very fabric of the human condition and into the fabric of the human and the Jewish experience. But we live in God's world. In God's world, everything is complete even when it's broken. And in God's world, everything is marching towards a better world. And even when it doesn't make sense, we know we embrace the brokenness in life, but we embrace it in the context that everything is complete, that we live in God's world. Yesh bal labira. There is purpose to what happens in the world, even if we don't understand it. The world is getting better. And even if it's at times taking steps backward, it's almost never been better for the Jewish people, despite the fact that, especially since Simchat Torah 2 years ago, we still feel so much pain and brokenness, and therefore we never blow the shofar, not once, without the tekiah before and after. The story begins in a good place, it ends in a good place, it is a good story, even if there's so much fracturedness and brokenness. I want to bless us all as we come to Tafshin Pei Vav, that there is still so much brokenness and fracturedness, but there's so much good in the world, so much evil has left the world, of Hezbollah and of Nasrallah and of Sinwar and threats around the world. And yes, we still have hostages, and yes, there is so much still to do, and there's so much pain still, and there's so much evil still in the world, and Hamas is still on our doorstep and we have to bring our hostages home. But so much good has happened. Things are getting better, even if at times that they feel they're getting a little bit worse. And therefore we know we come to Tafshin Pei Vav and we embrace the brokenness, the incompleteness, the pain of life. It is part of life, but we know it exists in a context of God's will, of tekiah. That even the word Teruah is also not only the pain of brokenness. Teruah b'shevet Barzil, says the Arizal. The word Teruah means brokenness, but it also means laharia, to celebrate. And we celebrate the brokenness because we know ultimately that we live in God's world, where everything is complete, everything has purpose, and everything, please God, will be okay and much better in Tafshin Pei Vav. Shabbat Shalom, Shana Tova U'Metuka.